Does Facebook really value diversity and inclusion? Do they really care about the things that they say they care about? Hi everyone, I'm Christine, and today's video is going to be a little bit more juicier than normal because I'm going to spill the tea on why I left my six-figure design job at Facebook after only working there for 3 months. About a month ago, I posted a more casual vlog about my last day at Facebook and what I was feeling at the time of quitting. I've had a few months to reflect on what actually went wrong and why I left Facebook. So today's video is going to go into more details on my reasons for leaving Facebook. I also want to mention that my intention is not to shame anyone who's currently working at Facebook, nor to encourage people to leave Facebook. I simply wanted to share my own journey and my experience in moving jobs because so oftentimes big tech companies get so glamorized and people put them on a pedestal. And when you put anything on a pedestal in your life, it's very easy to lose sight of the bigger picture and you end up chasing after things that don't actually serve you nor align with your values. For me, I've always wanted to work at a big company and have that on my resume, so I'm glad I got that itch out of the way. I still don't regret joining Facebook and having left so early on because now I know for sure what I want and what I don't want when it comes to my career. The biggest lesson I learned through all of this is that there will always be problems in the workplace. It's more about choosing what type of problems you're willing to deal with and what you're not willing to deal with, and choosing your company depending on that. Some of you asked me how I went about going back to my old job at Instacart, and I will be answering that question at the end of the video. Reason number one. I'm getting a little nervous. Okay, this is probably the most vulnerable I've been on camera, so bear with me here. So reason number one was culture. Different people have different definitions of what culture is, but for me, culture is the emotional and relational environment of the workplace. So it comes down to the dynamics of the working relationships, leadership. Because I'm such a relational person, it's really hard for me to stay at a place for long if I don't feel like the culture is the right fit. At a big company like Facebook, culture really varies by team. So I know for a fact that not every team on Facebook was like my team, but my team had a very top-down work stream, meaning a lot of important decisions were being made by executives or director level people, leaving individual contributors like myself to have very little ownership of the projects that we were working on. And if you have not experienced a very top-down culture, it is not fun to work in such an environment because things could be changing every day. Priorities change so often. It can be quite stressful and discouraging to be working in that kind of environment where you're putting out ideas, you're trying your best to own the problem space, give the right solutions, move the team forward, and then this one person from leadership team just shuts down all your ideas. And that's it. There goes your 2 months of hard work and your job becomes basically working for a certain person. And I don't like that personally. It's not my cup of tea. I like to work towards a vision and solving a problem that I believe in solving for. I don't like the feeling of working for a person and for their approval only. So one way you can get a sense of what the culture is like is by talking to some of the leaders in the team. Who are these leaders and how do they treat their reports? What do they value? So usually during my interviews, the recruiters will set up a one-on-one for me with a design lead or a design director. And that's when I will ask them questions to sort of figure out, do they really care about people or are they more interested in accomplishing things that are on their agendas? You know, do they see people as a resource only or do they really care about the team and the well-being of the team? There was this one point I was browsing through the org charts of different product teams, and what I saw was from the manager level up, reporting to Mark Zuck, they were all white male. And that just made me think, does Facebook really value diversity and inclusion and empowerment of people of color? It just made me wonder how grueling of a task it would be for a person who looked like me to climb up the ladder, earn my seat at the table where important decisions are being made. Not that that's my ambition in life, but it just made me wonder, right? Like, do they really care about the things that they say they care about? I don't know. I'll just look at the org chart and that tells me much more than what you're preaching to me. Another thing that was really difficult was virtually onboarding. I definitely underestimated how hard it would be to build trust and form new working relationships all over Zoom. I had joined Facebook in June 2020. That was after lockdown, but I had interviewed at Facebook starting January 2020, so it took me 6 months to get this job. I will cover my interview and like how that was like in another video. Facebook has a really robust onboarding program, and I give all the props to that team for trying to make new hires feel welcomed, but it just wasn't the same as going into the office and meeting the people that you will be working with. It's just different when you're going into the office. You see this person as a human being and not just someone who delivers design files to you. You're not only judging them by the work that they deliver, but I feel like in a virtual world, it's very easy to just judge people based on their work. And I was getting super paranoid about whether I was delivering, the things that they wanted me to deliver. Was I meeting expectations? I have no idea, because I didn't even really know what my expectations were as a designer there. It was just very unclear. Things were very chaotic. And I also just felt like a number, which was true because Facebook has like over 50,000 employees. I am just a number. Overall, I just didn't feel welcomed at the company. I mean, I've met great people there. It wasn't any of their fault. It was just this overall feeling that I got was like, I'm not valued here. I'm not welcomed. Reason number 2 was I didn't really like my design responsibility at Facebook. And it comes down to 2 things. One is impact and the other is vision. I come from a background of working at startups where I built things from 0 to 1. I owned everything from ideation to rollout. I had a lot of say in building the foundational roadmap for the product, and I worked on very high impact projects. Whereas at a big and mature place like Facebook, the product has already been established. There are thousands of engineers, PMs, and designers before you who have worked on making the Instagram app, the Facebook Messenger app, and unless you're coming in as a design lead for an emerging product or an innovation team, it's very unlikely that you'll be working on high impact projects that require a lot of ownership from the designer. So the second part was vision. I don't think I truly believed in the product vision and strategy of what I was working on. And so naturally, I didn't really feel motivated to put in more hours and hard work into what I was doing because I didn't believe in it. And it was also around the same time where I watched the documentary Social Dilemma, which I highly recommend everyone to do, where I learned more in depth about Facebook's role in destabilizing our politics and threatening our democracy. And I didn't want to play in that role. The third and last reason was little growth projection. I started asking myself, in a year, what will I have accomplished at Facebook? Will I be proud of my work? Will I have grown in areas that I wanted to grow in? And when I joined Facebook, I really wanted to grow in my craft as a designer. Like I wanted to learn animation, prototyping skills, and I thought that surrounding myself with designers who are really good at it would help me grow. And so when I joined my team, which is known to have a very high bar for craft, even within Facebook, I was very excited. But I quickly realized that I wasn't going to be given opportunities to grow in this area because there were so many designers who were amazing at prototyping complex prototypes within a day, pitching them to executives, and I wasn't going to compete with them. Like that's not my forte, and I knew that. I knew where I was in the landscape of things, and I can't compete. I'm gonna take a month to come up with these prototypes. It definitely felt more like a design agency than a product team where designers were expected to just punch out high fidelity mock-ups that were beautiful. My strengths as a designer are in product thinking and strategy, and I just knew that the team that I was in didn't value that. And so I think overall it really comes down to Facebook valued different things than I did, and it wasn't a great fit. If you're experiencing something similar in your workplace where you're not happy with your job or a certain situation, I highly encourage you to talk to your manager or someone that you really trust. If you let these things pile up, what will happen is you will end up quitting your job, which, won't serve you in a lot of cases because maybe there were ways where you could resolve the issues. Another resource that I wasn't aware of early in my career was that you have an HR BP that you can talk to. Their job is to keep things confidential and to help resolve some of these workplace issues. So I encourage you to hit up your HRBP. HRBP stands for HR business partner. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I would be very scared to bring these things up because I didn't know if I would be retaliated. And there are laws to protect you, so you don't have to be super concerned about that. But now looking back, I did a huge disservice to myself and to the people around me because if you're experiencing something, it's very likely that your coworkers are also experiencing similar things. And so by you speaking up, it can really help the organization become a safer environment that's not toxic. You know, certain leaders will do certain things, certain people will do certain things, and their actions should be held accountable. Just my 2 cents. I know the topic got a little bit heavy. And to answer the question of how I went back to my old job at Instacart, it was pretty simple. I hit up my manager. I had a very good working relationship with her, and I told her I was very serious about coming back. And the rest is history. My manager and other leads at Instacart were a big reason why I decided to go back. I knew that they genuinely cared for my well-being and my growth. And even when I left, there were no hard feelings, which was the first time that happened. I still kept in touch with my manager after I left Instacart. There were people checking in on me. And there was this one time where I was talking with someone from Instacart, and she said, if things don't work out, just know that we are your cushion. And I was like, oh. Thanks so much for saying those things to me. It just meant a lot. And I just realized how valuable those relationships were to my growth. Getting a job at a renowned company is not the light at the end of the tunnel, but rather it's getting a job at a place where it will set you up for success and growth over the long run.